we made Tommy Robinson on a sunbed the poster of last year's riots. Last year's riots, the poster was not Axel Ruda-Cabana. That's not the image that they want people to remember. They want me on my sunbed. Which I'm not bothered about the picture of me on my sunbed. I'm bothered that they located and doxed and gave the location of my children. You can hear the messages of evidence. It's me saying to them, how do you think it's fair to endanger my kids? How do you think that's right to endanger my kids? That's what they've done.
Breaking today, Tommy Robinson will face a jury trial for the first time in October next year, October 2026, after being charged with 2 counts of harassment and the fear of causing violence against a duo of reporters from the Daily Mail newspaper. Now, I'm always going to be totally transparent when I'm talking about these type of court cases. There is so much more I would love to say about this, but of course it is an active proceeding, so I do have to be slightly careful. I also hold my hands up, of course, and say that I was previously a columnist for the Daily Mail. In saying that, I am disgusted, utterly appalled with the activities of this newspaper surrounding Tommy Robinson and the fact that they now want to present themselves as the victim. So we're going to get into exactly what happened in court now. This is what Tommy Robinson said after emerging from making his decision to go ahead with a jury trial and what he feels the Daily Mail has done. If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address, and sign up today.
Describe what has just happened.
They've read out my charges, which basically what they're saying is the mainstream media can track your family down. They can take pictures of innocent family members. They can give the location, which if you follow the 2-day slot of when they done this, resulted in Somalians with machine guns threatening to murder my family, threats to rape my kids, Muslims giving the address away of the location of my family, 6 different groups turning up at the family hotel where we were. The managers of the hotel put me in a side room saying, we're scared for the safety of all the guests of this hotel. That is what the Mail done. They didn't need to locate my family. They could have run the story around publishing where we were. They didn't need to publish any pictures of innocent people. Yeah? I now face prosecution for saying I'm going to ask them some questions.
And he does. And I'm just going to read out some of the key facts that emerged in court today. As I say, I really wish that the British legal system meant that I could be more analytical about what Tommy was really saying in these posts. But let me just read you out what he said. So he told one of the reporters, "I'm coming to get you," while tweeting about how he tracked the pair down. He wrote, "You will be questioned on camera about how you think endangering children is okay." The court heard he also messaged one of the reporters saying he had his address and said, "I'll be knocking on your door. Let your bosses know I'm coming to all your houses." Of course, Tommy had accused the journalist of endangering and doxing his children. He pleaded not guilty to the charges. So again, I'm just going to be very careful, but I just want you to listen and think about what he said and just ask yourself, did he really make any direct threat at all? Or did he just say that he's doing journalism? And of course, the reason that Tommy is so disgusted with the Daily Mail is because they purposefully chose to make him the face of the Southport massacre rather than Axel Ruda-Cabana. Watch.
Show what the journalists done. In fact, there's articles of them celebrating what they done. We made Tommy Robinson on a sunbed the poster of last year's riots. Last year's riots, the poster was not Axel Ruda-Cabana. That's not the image that they want people to remember. They want me on my sunbed. which I'm not bothered about the picture of me on my sunbed. I'm bothered that they located and doxed and gave the location of my children. You can hear the messages of evidence. It's me saying to them, how do you think it's fair to endanger my kids? How do you think that's right to endanger my kids? That's what they've done.
And while Tommy is horrified about the fact that he now has to suffer another year of lawfare, given that this trial will not take place until next October, he is very clear that he wants to be tried by a jury of his peers, and he believes that for the first time it will be the Daily Mail rather than him on trial. Watch.
Again, they think I'm on trial now. The Daily Mail are going to be on trial. Their behaviour, their tactics are going to be on trial, and the jury are going to get shown what they've done to my family. And the jury are going to get shown what they intentionally done to my family. What was the need to put pictures of innocent family members when they know there's threats to attack my ex-wife with acid? Why would you show a picture of her? Why would you do that? What story, what part were my children or my ex-wife or innocent people, how were they part of this story? They weren't. They purposely done it on behalf of the British state at a time when they wanted to put a target and pressure on me and my family. That's what they did.
And you can see Tommy, of course, very upset about what happened in court. But here's what he had to say when he first arrived.
So basically what I said is, I want to ask you some questions and put a camera on you. The journalists, these guys, the mainstream media, act as a weapon of the British state. They tracked down my family. They photographed innocent members of my family. They gave the location of my family. They endangered my family. And then because I turned around to them and said, now I'm going to ask you some questions, they then used the other weapon of the state, which is this base, which now I probably face probably 2 years of prosecution now. This costs £8,800 today. That's what this is. And we're in Southwark, where I expect today they'll try and move it to the Old Bailey. And if they do, when I go to the Old Bailey, there'll be 24 murder trials and then me for trying to ask some questions of some journalists. I actually thought when I come out of jail this time, it's the first time that I'm not going to face prosecutions. I currently, in October, face a trial for terrorism legislation. You've just seen some men calling for the murder of MPs, flying flags of terrorist organisations, and they're not getting prosecuted. I'm prosecuted as a journalist. You're all journalists for refusing to let the police have access to my sources of information. That's it.
Let me bring in my superstar panel now, host of Breaking Embargo on YouTube, Peter C. Barnes, and the political commentator, Charlie Sansom. So, Charlie, there's not going to be anything on this case now until October the 5th next year, and Tommy has been released on conditional bail. But the problem with conditional bail is it means that he has no free speech around these issues. So there are a whole number of conditions, like not contacting prosecution witnesses directly or indirectly. You know, you can argue that's standard, but also not posting anything online which would identify them. Okay, that's standard, but far more difficult for Tommy as a journalist and a commentator and an activist is the third condition, which states he is not to publish any content relating to current proceedings that may prejudice either parties to proceedings or proceedings themselves other than those permitted by the Crime and Disorder Act. So, for example, does that mean he's not able to comment on anything that the Daily Mail does for the next 12 months? And this is the problem with this type of lawfare, which I believe is designed to create political prisoners and also shut down free speech in the United Kingdom.
It's a good question you've asked there. I didn't think about that coming into this show today, actually, about the prohibition on his journalism, really. I think that because Tommy is one of those figures where every publication writes about him, whatever he gets up to, or however they want to spin the story, I should really say, he could probably get around that by talking about a report made in the Sun or the Independent or whichever rag it's going to be in. But I think he's been treated very unfairly here, because I wouldn't like it if I was away with my family and I was being photographed, or my children were being photographed, my family were, because I try to keep what I do completely away from my family and friends unless they are actually in the political world. And I think that's fair enough. Tommy is so famous, not just here in the UK, but around Europe, in America, that to put his kids in danger and then say, oh, you can't ask us why we've put your kids in danger, is a complete affront to what it is the Daily Mail are trying to do. They're trying to report on stories. You could argue that they shouldn't be photographing his kids. I think that is a step too far. But for him to say, "Well, I'm going to come and do the same thing to you now as a journalist," and then being found in court, that's a complete joke. That's complete. Like you said, it's lawfare. I don't use that word often, but it is lawfare. They're using it against him, and I hope he wins. I hope he takes them for all they've got.
Peter C. Barnes, what do you make of what happened in court today? But first, you know I never recommend anything unless I truly believe in it, and today I've got something absolutely game-changing for you. Have you ever stopped to think about how crucial comfort is, especially down there? Well, let me tell you, today's Outspoken proudly sponsored by Sheath Underwear, the revolutionary brand shaking up men's comfort across the globe. And here's what makes Sheath even better. It was founded by a US Army veteran, Robert Patton, while he was serving in Iraq back in 2007. So that's right, not just any underwear brand. This brand was designed for the toughest conditions imaginable. Patton was battling relentless heat and discomfort in full combat gear, and he thought there has to be a better way, so he created it. And let's be honest, traditional underwear just doesn't cut it anymore. Sheath's innovative dual pouch design ensures your comfort all day long, keeping things separate, cool, and fresh. Imagine your essentials being comfortably cradled and away from unwanted friction and heat. Trust me, this is genuinely transformative. I love this underwear at the gym, on long days at work, and I'm telling you, once you've experienced Sheath, there simply is no turning back. They're stylish, they're supportive, and they deliver unmatched comfort. It's like upgrading from economy to first class, but for your underwear. And right now, I'm offering you an exclusive 20% discount at sheath.com. Yes, 20% off your entire order when you use my special promo code Outspoken. You just type Outspoken at checkout. So what are you waiting for? Sheath is also the perfect present for your husband, your boyfriend, your son, your brother, or your hard-to-buy-for best mate. And ladies, this is exciting. There are female versions available too. And this is such a cool thing. Sheath, the first official underwear brand of the UFC. So click on the link below, enter Outspoken at checkout, head to sheath.com, and you can thank me later when you're feeling comfortable, confident, and ready to tackle anything your day throws at you. Sheath underwear, redefining comfort one pair at a time. But now, back to the show.
I have to admit, I've kind of coming round to Tommy Robinson. I have to admit, I may have fallen for a lot of the narratives, a lot of the spin in the past. But one thing I will say is that the reaction of the mainstream media towards him makes me believe him more. You know, they strike me as very much of a wounded animal in a corner at the moment. The way that they are savagely using lawfare, and you're bang on to point out that this is how this law is designed. It is designed to strangle him, basically, to make sure he can't earn money, he can't operate, and to essentially make him so irrelevant that he just goes away. It's part of what we call the human rights regime. In other words, it's about using the law to block people in. It's a very nefarious way of having very vague laws, and you can then wield them as an instrument. And it's very toxic that it's been allowed to happen, but it doesn't surprise me given the fact, you got Keir Starmer running around. But I will say, the way that all of this has gone down, it just stinks to high heaven of a organization backed into a corner, caught with its pants down, and it's about time that it had some accountability thrown back at it. And most of the mainstream media needs it more now than ever.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, Charlie? We're hearing so many people like Peter saying, actually, I'm not buying into the narrative anymore. You've known Tommy for a long time. What's your view of him as a man?
I think he's really nice, actually. He's very charming. He's very approachable. He's not up his own arse like you might expect from some people who are famous and got a reputation like he does. I think that going to Peter's acknowledgement of being a victim of the narrative, should we say, he's not the only one. But what I would say, oh, that's me there in the background. You see that? Yeah, that's me. That's me DJing at one of his events. Yeah.
That wasn't planned, but great.
No, that's a good shot. That's a good shot. But I've been on the Tommy train for, I don't know, 15 years, maybe more than that. And I've been called all names under the sun: racist, bigot, Islamophobic, you name it. And I've worn it. I've accepted it because I knew in the end that the truth would come out, the truth would prevail. And I don't criticize people for believing the narrative, because it's perpetual and it's consistent that he's this and he's that. But once you peel it back a little bit, and I give full credit to the internet for this, because I think it democratizes information. Now people can really see how the government works. Now people are seeing that maybe there is an issue with a certain religion doing certain things. Maybe there's an issue with the authorities for ignoring that. And there's a reason why. And it's not racist to say that. You know, I wrote a tweet yesterday saying, I hate it when people call me racist. I'm a statistics enthusiast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I
I
do think it's a bit of a litmus test now, Peter C. Barnes. I really do. I mean, for me, it's a bit like, are you an establishment shill? Are you just a mainstream media or die person? Which is why when I hear like Patrick Christie's calling him racist, or Camilla Tominey describing him as a white supremacist, I'm like, you're captured, you're caught, you're cut, you're part of that system, because there was no need. I mean, look, silence is maybe not the greatest thing, but at least you're not actively out there telling lies. I mean, when Camilla Tominey went on this morning and said he's a white supremacist, I'm like, no, I'm not going to respect a word you say again now. I do genuinely view this as a bit of a litmus test issue.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And I call it the age of consequence and the age of reckoning. You know, the old structures are falling, the old kind of facade is disappearing. And as Charlie says, you just peel back the layer just a little bit, and all of it is shown to be smoke and mirrors. And this is why you've got so much scrambling. You know, we're seeing such a ferocious kind of backlash to so many people, to so many issues, because they know that the power is slipping. And that's why I think over the next probably 5 years, we'll see more of these kind of woke things kind of really pushed down, really extreme, because this is the last ditch attempt for it. It is crumbling. It's crumbling around us. And Charlie's right. It is the democratization of the internet and access to information that has terrified the mainstream. It is shook it to its nth degree, and it doesn't know how to get around it, because it is finally being held accountable for the lies, the mystery, and just all of it. It is all falling down. But what I will say is we have got to be very careful about what we replace in its, one establishment is not a good thing. Replacing it with the same thing, even worse. And that's what I'm more concerned about right now.
Charlie, we discussed on the show yesterday, but I just want to get your take on it because, of course, as you say, you are a regular at these marches. You've DJ'd on stage before. The next one, September the 13th, I mean, this is going to be far, far bigger than anything that's happened before. Mainstream figures, right? So Jordan Peterson has agreed to speak. But I was really shocked yesterday by the fact, I mean, delighted, but shocked that two of the main contenders to become Reform UK's London mayoral candidate at the next local election, Derek Chisora and Dan Middleton, have both agreed to speak. Do you think that means that they are now ruled out of running for Reform UK, given Farage's position?
Well, I was going to say just then that they were candidates for London. They won't be candidates.
It's now
anymore.
wide open. It's now wide open.
And to be fair, I mean, I like Ant Middleton. I don't know much about Derek Chisora apart from the boxing, what his views are politically, but I know he's friends with Nigel. I would be flabbergasted if they were still kept in the fold, because I know Nigel has a hard-on for Tommy. I mean, I find this quite comical, actually. I got to be honest, because it kind of puts Nigel into a corner. And will Nigel decide to get rid of those characters? They're a lot bigger than some of the people he's got rid of before. So maybe
and he personally likes them. That's the difference, isn't it? Like, whatever you say about the whole Reform UK issue, I think you could say Nigel didn't personally have a great affinity or affection for Ben Habib or Rupert Lowe.
I wonder why.
But whereas when you look at some of these other characters, he loves them. You know, Derek Chisora, he adores the man. And Middleton, he took him to Trump's inauguration in Washington, D.C. What about Outspoken regular Alex Phillips, who has been a long time Faragist and a real ally of Nigel Farage, but has interviewed Tommy and has been very public about the fact that she is a supporter of his. I do wonder if this event on September the 13th, Peter, is going to be that moment when the Overton window shifts.
Oh, I really hope it is, but the more than likely is they're just going to get briefed that they've got Alzheimer's. So I don't really have much hope, I'm afraid, because it is the Nigel Farage show and he is in control, and you dare go against him, and that is the end of you. Because for too long, too many people have kept that man in power, and he has kept the right out of power. He is in it for himself. He's not in it for the country. And as far as I'm concerned, the country will be better off without him.
And you actually wrote a brilliant Substack about this, which I really do recommend everyone check out, actually, Peter. And I think at some point I will be publishing it via the Outspoken Substack, because I really would love people to read this. www.outspoken.live is the address if you would like to subscribe. And of course, it is a free speech platform and you can do it completely for free. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.